It's recording. Okay, I took in some good information today, and I think I can organize it. This is my task. I'm going to try and organize the information in my head without writing down any notes from everything that I absorbed. Okay, so the first video that I listened to is about, and it's very difficult for me to say his name, Dostoevsky, Fyodor, is it Fyodor Dostoevsky? That is hard to read. Dostoevsky. Okay. Fun times. Anyway, I listened to the story about that, and it was about kindness. Well, throughout your life, your idea of kindness changes because of how you experience your own growth. And so, and when I take in a story, it is sometimes because sometimes I think in a narrative that it could be examined in a way that all of those different characters could be personality parts of the same person that need to be integrated. But I can also look at it as it is separate individuals. It depends, like everything that I take in, I have to try and understand the way the person writes things, because if it is true that we don't really know anybody much besides our own selves, then how would a writer who is writing about different people be able to describe fictional characters when all those characters are coming from their own mind? But I can get into that, but I'm just going to go with Chelsea's mind instead of trying to imagine other people's minds. I think I'll get further with that pathway. So the one that had been put in who had been institutionalized and was Mishkin, I guess, he's the man. Or was that it sounds like a girl's name, but the one, I'll just not name them, the one who was put in the mental hospital and was a kind person in comparison to the cruel behavior experienced by the parents and the girlfriend and the fiance. Okay? Well, and then it says that it ends in a tragedy. Well, I started thinking about how the self-esteem works. Okay? And how exactly are you going to go about saving someone that you perceive needs to be saved from cruelty? And are you talking about, it goes in so many different ways. Are you talking about cruelty to their own self with the way they value their self? Or because that is most important about the way the person values their self. Because if they value their self, they're not going to allow or end up in relationships with people who don't value them. So how do you try and help somebody in that predicament of a feeling worthless kind of place? And is there hope for it? Well, the problem, Bertha, quit that. The problem with that story is that if you're trying to rescue somebody from their lowliness feelings, that's going to make them feel more lowly. Like, because they're feeling like that, and in the way that that's done, that's really hard to describe, because if he's in her eyes, they didn't say what he was like in her eyes, because if he was from a mental institution and was kind and had these good qualities and really loved her, and she could not receive his love because she felt bad about herself, well, how do we know that she didn't think that? I mean, we don't know what. I guess I would have to read the book, but depending upon what her value was her value to be treated with kindness, or to be with a person who seemed respectable? And then you have how, like, okay, if it was me, would be how I would be looking at the situation. It's not gonna be those conditions are all needing to be reprogrammed. As far as, like, okay, first of all, the person does not need to be going through approval of who the parents want her to be with. Nobody could ever be happy in that situation. You don't want to put your parents in your romantic relationship. Okay? And then it covered the part about the dowry and how she felt like she was a commodity, which caught my attention because of what I had discussed about the lottery the other day, and treating people like they are to be used of service, and what their worth is based on all kinds of variables. Because you can't deny that whatever you do with your time is kind of what people are going to see you as of value in whatever field that you're in. Now, so that's the kicker right there. How you feel about yourself is going to affect what kind of person that you decide to be with and how you will allow them to treat you. Secondly, if you already feel bad about yourself, you're not going to be very receptive to somebody who is wanting to take responsibility for you, because it's going to make you feel maybe even worse about yourself. Or, I mean, because to get self-respect, you have to take action to prove to yourself that you're doing worthwhile activities with your time. Now, there's all kinds of things that I've gone through about self-worth. I think that if like me trying to become a counselor was something that I thought that would make me feel worthy, and then I didn't get to do that, and I had to be staying at home, and then me thinking that, like, if I have complete what would you call it, that I don't have to deal with anybody about discussing my plans with it, and I can decide everything myself, then, well, that was sort of an adult thing that I could get my self-worth about. And there's lists and lists and lists of things in which you think if you put yourself in a certain position, you'll get this self-worth from. Okay? And that it's like the conditions change on you, and you no longer need what you thought sounded like a good idea after you figure out that idea would not have worked anyways. But you don't know that until you get over to the other side of it. So, what I was thinking about was how I talk about myself a lot, and then trying to wonder if that, like, if I'm just trying to imagine somebody that is listening to me. Okay, because my original exercise was to allow myself to get into myself, because I was too concerned about what other people thought of me. But if I really wanted to be helpful, and I'm just flipping it on myself, if I really wanted to be helpful to other people who needed to discover, to experience self-discovery, then I might think that there would have to be a different approach, because nobody wants to take or I wouldn't think that anybody would want to take somebody else's place as who they want to model themselves after. And so that's the reason why there's fictional stories, because you're trying to give people an experience of using their imaginations so that they can develop in whatever ways they need to become a person they feel good about being. And if your spot of who you are is already taken, then you might, I'm imagining myself being a helper like I originally wanted to do. You might have to resort to doing a lot more descriptions of characters for that experience, because that's the goal for everybody in the world, right? To develop their self. And your spot's already taken, so what do you do about that when the situation shifts? Because I would not sit around and listen to a person talk about themselves all of the time. I would be like, what about me? I do not feel included in this experience. I want to, and so, that's boys and girls. That's me trying to imagine. Quit, boys and girls, quit. That's me trying to imagine. Y'all, would you please? That's me. Come here. Come here. Alright. Well, this video is not going like I thought it would do. I might just have to redo it. Okay. That is me trying to imagine as if I was a parent or in any kind of job with youth or anybody. Like if I was not, like, I guess that's what the Dostoevsky's thing makes me think about. If I was trying to put myself in the position of thinking I wanted to help somebody, how would I go about doing that when I know that a lot of how you become who you are has to do with, it comes from the inside and goes outward instead of it coming from the outside and going inward. I know that there's been a lot of moments where I do feel like being cared about or feeling cared about gave me the enough fuel to keep going. But um, the real long lasting part of it is internal motivation. What else did I hear about? There were discussions about my because it reminded me of something I said. The solitude conversation that you can go into, it reminded me of what I wrote about the neurodivergent ideas. That if you go into solitude to discover yourself, it expanded on that. If you go into solitude to discover yourself, and then you're basically kind of you come up with ideas, and then you spit them out, and then you reorganize your ideas, come up with better ideas, and it's like this. You're eating yourself. That's what Nietzsche, that was Nietzsche's idea. So I listened to what Nietzsche was all about, solitude. Okay, and then he says you get to that place, and then you come out, and then it feels like the crowd that's kind of stuck in their own traditions, and I take that as like maybe maybe the crowd is bored with what they're already doing, and then now they want to eat you because they've spotted a new trend. Would that be it? Because you know you have societies that they go through stages, and at the top of that there's a trendsetter, and then that catches on by somebody that is like a kind of scopes out the world for what they see that seems like a new novelty kind of thing, and then that catches on by the next group, and then the next group, and the next group, until it's like spread all over the place. So that's the saying of the crowd starts eating you, but then you're back into the same cycle when that becomes goes cold, I guess is the thing to say. It's not, the blood goes cold. Is that what you would say? It's you can't keep, it's hard to keep things alive when people can't stand to be around each other, when they start getting into copycat behavior, because it doesn't feel alive enough. Okay, so that seems like it would be a world problem that everybody might experience to a certain degree. Okay, you want to feel alive and fresh and loving your life, and you I guess have a fantasy. I don't know if you would call it, what else would you call it other than a fantasy, that you can get in a relationship with somebody that makes you feel alive and fresh and good about being with. But if you like morph into each other, and it feels like you have no sense of individuality, and you kind of just go like that, because that's I don't, let's see if I'm describing that well enough. That seems like a normal thing that might happen to many people. But I don't know what the solution would be. My solution was that there? Are y'all needing food? What are you doing on the table for? Yes, that is why you're up there. You're hungry. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out, Mr. Tiny. You are responsible. No. There. There you go, boy. Good job. That is initiation there. Good job, Mr. Tiny. Okay. I asked y'all to do that. I said, y'all need to show me if I ever don't glance. And they did what I asked them to. Very good, Mr. Tiny. Very good, Mr. Tiny. Okay. So, the question that was on my mind was, if there's that sort of cycle with the world, okay, that does not, okay, we can say that. There's a tension between the desire to be unique and an individual and the desire to be in a relationship without being swallowed up like somebody else or other people are trying to imitate you. Okay? Or merge in such a way that you feel squished. Like, I don't really, I want my own my own personhood. So how do you deal with that? With this idea of the tribal mentality? Because of course, if you think about little children and all of that, and how they learn, this individual, and then your romantic partner. I mean, how do you keep yourselves different from each other, and different enough where you don't feel like yourself is being worn, your own skin is being worn by your partner. You can't be me. Okay, that's what I thought about whenever I was trying to dwell on thinking about past relationships that I had. I almost wondered, like, after that breakup, did I take on some of those characteristics of that person instead of staying in the relationship? What would it take to stay in a relationship? I think that my answer was, do not get in a relationship with somebody who is too much like yourself, because you want them to have their thing and you want to remain to have your thing, so that you don't feel like you're competing over the same territory. Like, so that's why I thought being with someone that's kind of different than you was a good idea. Someone that you don't have the same types of skills as, such as Rin, who is a musician. If I just left that, if I didn't try to go invade that territory too much, it might be better for the relationship. But I don't know, because there's also the question of you want to be able to enjoy things with similar hobbies or whatever it is with your partner. But if you're with somebody all day, you don't have to enjoy all of the same things. That you can have your own interests. But yeah, that whole idea about blobbing into something with people, into whatever it is, when you share your ideas. But my solution was that if you really want to stay edgy, I mean, on the top of being, what would you call it, trendy, where you get to continuously feel like you are an individual that is not able to be duplicated. Well, if you if you get bored with things staying the same anyways, then you can completely come out and show who you are and not worry about that being stolen. Because even if people do pick up and learn from anything that you have done or presented, then it's not like you need it anymore. You can keep recreating new ideas, and you can keep becoming and metamorphosing into a better you continuously, and that just gives you more fuel to do better if that becomes the case. And then, I mean, you just get that. I mean, I don't know. I think that's pretty much it about the reason why there is solitude, and the reason why there is nobody would sit their self out to be looked at and say, please mass produce me. Nobody would even be able to. But why would anybody want to be looking at another person and being like, yeah, I want to be mass produced and be exactly like this person? No, nobody would do that. Nobody would do that. Okay, is there anything else? I think that's good for now. I might think about another one to do a little bit later.